Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone is well. We had a great week. Today is Erev Yom Yerushalayim, Parshat Bamidbar this week. Next week, we're mamish on the eve of Chag HaShavuos, and I wanted to share a short idea that will connect Parshat Bamidbar to Chag HaShavuos. It's quite easy, that connection. But before doing so, I just want to dedicate today's shiur. I want to thank the Schmeltz family, Jonathan Schmeltz, for dedicating today's Dvar Torah, and it's dedicated in honor of the 20th Yahrzheit of Rabbi Binyamin Schmeltz, Jonathan's brother. And a little background I think is in order. Benji Schmeltz, Binyamin, was one of my closest friends growing up. We met when I was in Shalvim. He was in Shalvim Shana Aleph, and right away we became very, very close. We learned together. We were chavrusas. And then back when we came back, we went to YU. We were roommates. Chavrus is a very, very Yedid Nefesh. A Yedid Nefesh of mine. Benji walked down my aisle at my chasna. And then even after I got married, he was going for smicha, became a rav in Manhattan, was involved in a lot of different chinuch, kiruv, chesed activities. We continued to be very, very close. And then in 1995, I made Aliyah. And I remember vividly, it's vivid in my mind to this day, about a year and a half or so after, 2 years after we made Aliyah, thereabouts, I get tragic notice that Binyamin Benji suddenly just passed away. I remember to this day sitting in my dining room table in Mevaseret in my apartment, penning a letter to Benji's parents, sharing Nichumei Avelim, reminiscing about what Benji meant to me. Benji was not zoch, unfortunately, to Arichus Shanim, but Benji was certainly zocha to Arichus Yomim. He maximized, he touched so many people, certainly touched me in a very, very profound way, and it's humbling to me and it's an honor to me to dedicate today's short Dvar Torah in honor of the Yahrzheit of Binyamin Schmeltz, and the Dvar Torah should be Lilui Nishmaso, and perhaps the words of Torah that we share will be an aliyah for us as well. This is a very beautiful mashal that is cited in the Medrash on this week's parasha, where the Medrash tells us of a mashal of a king who wanted to build a traklin, he wanted to build a palace for himself, and he looked at different cities in his kingdom. He went to one city, and the people, wherever he went, they ran away. The people of the city ran away when he wanted to build this palace. One city had a very, very beautiful river in it, and the people ran away. They weren't interested in building the city. And the Medrash cites the pasuk that when they got to that city with the waters, that Hayam Ra Vayanos, the waters saw what was going on, and they fled. They ran away. He went to another city with great mountains, and once again the pasuk says Heharim, the mountains, Rakdu Kelim, they danced away like Ye'elim. So once again, no one was interested. And finally he gets to this very desolate town, a ghost town. No one lived there. It was a very forsaken place. And sure enough, the few people that were there said, sure, build your palace over here. What exactly is the message of this Medrash? What's the nimshal that the Medrash is telling us? So I believe the Torah is telling us, the Medrash is telling us, Chazal are telling us a fundamental idea when it comes to our kesher to Torah, and when it comes to the impact of Torah. Torah and Torah study and our connection to Torah, our bondedness with Torah is supposed to change us. Is supposed to have an impact. When we sit and learn, when we have a chavrusa, when we hear a drasha, when we hear a shiur, we are supposed to walk away from that engagement with Shechina, that engagement with Torah Hashem. We're supposed to walk away different than we were before. It has to have a penetrating impact. That's what Torah Hashem is all about. And some people are not interested. Who wants to change? Who wants to undergo that process? After all, it's sometimes painful, it's sometimes arduous, and sometimes we're very, very happy with who we are. So these cities that were well developed, that had these beautiful mountains, these vistas, these beautiful flowing rivers, they were good. All was fine, and therefore Hayam Ra'av Vayanos, not interested. They ran away. You had this city that was desolate, that was nothing going on, that was forsaken. So sure, it was open to change. It was open to that process, and therefore the invitation is made. So often there are people that have baggage, and that baggage prevents the Torah Hashem to really penetrate, to really have an impact. And the idea, the goal is that we're supposed to, as Chazal tell us, we'll see that Chazal in a moment, we're supposed to make ourselves like a midbar, make ourselves like nothing, forsaken, nothing there, in order for the Torah to have that impact. Indeed, the Medrash tells us, Medrash Rabbah, in Parshas Bamidbar, Siman Aleph Os Vav, that when it comes to the Torah was given to us via Eish, via Mayim, and via Midbar. These three aspects, these two materials. The mountain, the Har, was replete. There was Eish al Hahar. There was Mayim, and it was in a midbar. So what is the message? So Chazal tells us very beautifully, and Rav Asher Weiss develops this in his Sicha on Parshas Midbar, that Eish represents passion. Eish represents fire. That we often are lazy. We have a rifyon, vayisu mirfidim. We left Refidim to get Har Sinai. We have to leave that rifyon, that weakness, that passivity, and inject ourselves with a sense of passion. With fire, we have to overcome those challenges. That's Torah's nicknames with Eish. You're not going to go ahead and achieve real accomplishments in Torah and in connection without that sense of passion, something we have to work on. Chazal tell us when it comes to Mayim always recedes to its lowest place. Mayim does not sit on high places, it always recedes to low places. That's that sense of anava. A person has to be shvel ruach. If he thinks I have it all, life is good. I find myself as an educator. The boys who think life is good, they're very wealthy. They think it's all worked out. They have their whole life charted in front of them. It's all worked out. So there's no room for the Torah to go and have an impact. That's that sense of anava, and certainly that sense of midbar, because a midbar is, Chazal tell us, hefker. It's ownerless. It's open to be developed. And that's that yesod. That's the yesod of the mashal that we gave, and that's the yesod of the medrash. When you think about why Hashem chose to give the Torah in the midbar, that's this parsha, Bamidbar Sinai. And of course, Midbar Sinai is the midbar. The Har Sinai was a low mountain. Moshe has his first revelation at a sneh, a lowly bush. There's definitely a connection there, a linkage. Sneh, Sinai, low mountains, midbar, Mayim, Anava. There is room. There is room for growth. There is room for change. It is underdeveloped. And since it is underdeveloped, it is very, very ripe. Why does the Torah give us, why does Hashem give us the Torah in Midbar? You think about Midbar. It's a place of nothingness. It's a lonely place. There is nothing developed. There's no food in the Midbar. There's no water. There's no grass. There are no trees. It's forsaken. It's barren. It's dead. It's an empty place. Whatever animals live in a Midbar, snakes, scorpions, these are not animals even that kind of project life. They're dead type of animals. They're dirty animals. They're lowly animals. They don't project vitality and vivaciousness. That's on the one hand. But there's another aspect to Midbar. A Midbar is very, very quiet. There's no noise in a Midbar. It's an authentic place. It's very real. Voices, sounds travel forever in a midbar. The acoustics are incredible. There are no walls. There are no barriers. There's no service in a midbar. There's no distractions whatsoever. Everything has an opportunity to be heard. And in that sense, a midbar is a very, very pure place. In the very same way that it's dead. There's no factories, there's no buildings, there's no business in a midbar. In that sense, it's dead, but that also enables it to be a place of tremendous potential, tremendous opportunity to hear, to listen. It's very, very quiet. It is very, very authentic. No coincidence, the word midbar has within it the word davar or dibur, daber, because the place where perhaps you can have the greatest sense of clarity, you can hear in the most pristine and purest way, is in a midbar. It's exactly that place. A lot of times in life we're so cluttered. We're so busy with our offices and with our phones and with our entertainment and with everything else. We live lives that are so cluttered. Therefore, the words of Hashem become muffled. You can't hear them clearly. Go to a midbar. When you go to a midbar, look at the sky in a midbar. Look at how clear the stars look to you. Look at how far you can see. And most importantly, look, listen, how much you can hear. The clarity is unbelievable. No clutter, nothing muffling the sounds, nothing in the way, no barriers, no service. It's an unbelievably liberating place. And that, of course, is why the Torah is given in the Midbar. A Midbar is a place of hefker, where anything can happen. There's nothing limiting you. Anything can be achieved. There's no kavod, there's no honor. In a desert, in a Midbar, man can be. He is. He can never have. He can't have anything in a Midbar. It doesn't get sustained. Physicality doesn't get sustained. There's no raw materials. But a person can be, he can be his most authentic self. And that is a very, very empowering concept. And perhaps that's exactly why the Torah is given dafka in a Midbar, when the Dvar Hashem can be heard in the clearest way possible. And indeed, when I think about my dear friend, whose Yahrzheit is being celebrated or commemorated this week, it's exactly who he was. He had these midos. Not easy to have these three midos. On the one hand, Benji for sure was an anaf, tremendous anaf. He did not at all think of himself in any special way. On the other hand, he was a person of great, great passion. He was passionate about his learning. He was passionate about his chesed. But he did it in a very, very simple way. He did not do it in an ostentatious way, in a loud way, in a way that drew attention to himself. He did it in a very, very simple way. That's that idea of Midbar, where sometimes the most subtle of sounds can be heard the loudest because there is no clutter. And that's really why the Torah is given in Midbar, and that's our challenge, because we live in a world that is the antithesis of Midbar. You can't compare. The Twitter world, the Facebook world, social media, our offices, our buildings, our noise that is constantly around us, constantly muffling, constantly getting in the way. Very tough to be a true Eved Hashem. And somehow, as we approach Parshat Bamidbar, as we approach our sense of Kabbalas HaTorah, we have to restore ourselves a little bit, get a little bit of that peace of Midbar. We have that silence, and we can be our most authentic self. And Bez Hashem, we do that, we'll be zoche to a true sense of Kabbalas HaTorah.